Kaede Harakazua. It's you, at last.
Aha! So it is the same guy from before! What's your problem, huh? What could you possibly have against Kazuha?
Indeed, there should be no enmity between us. If it is Ame no miHoYo that stands before us. But what if instead of facing Ame no miHoYo, we are in fact facing the blade in his hand?
Now that you mention it, it is giving off a strange light. Whoa, whoa! Surely you don't mean... Are you serious?
Tatarigami energy often lodges itself within physical objects, then works to subtly affect any living organisms in its vicinity. The blade has resided in Mr. Nagato's warehouse for many years, affecting his state of mind, and more recently using the sale as a means to affect, or rather as a means to occupy, Ame no miHoYo's body.
You're sharper than I thought. You've already deduced the truth of the matter. Many, many years ago, I was forged by a famed bladesmith of the Ishin tradition. I was his pride and joy. In me, he placed all his hopes and dreams. As a descendant of the Kaedehara clan, you should be able to guess our greatest regret.
I presume it has something to do with the Raiden Gokaden.
Indeed. At that point in time, he failed to live up to the Raiden Shogun's expectations. In the end, all he could do was to flee the nation by sea on a ship bound for Snezhnaya. He was a bladesmith of great renown, a master of his craft. There was nothing that he could not accomplish. All he needed was more time and a little faith. And sure enough, in the end, he achieved what he had set out to do. All of his life's work, his wisdom, his skill, it culminated in his creation of me. He not only bestowed upon me the greatest of strength, but also endowed me with a consciousness of my own. In her conceit, the Raiden Shogun lost not only the single most perfect blade in the entire world, but also an irreplaceable achievement in the art of blade forging.
So... swords can become conscious and control people?
The people of the time in which I was born never believed I had that kind of power. They saw me as a mere blade, a sharp and well-crafted one, but in all other respects an ordinary weapon. But that gave me the opportunity to take action. After the death of my creator, I decided to leave Snezhnaya and began my long quest to return to the distant land of Inazuma. Moving from one person to the next, I controlled the minds of countless hosts along the way, each bringing me one step closer to my ancestral home. I seek but one thing: to face the full force of the Raiden Shogun's blade and prove my power, the might of Ishin art!
Ah, so Ame no miHoYo was not your first victim. Tell me, what happens to those you've possessed when you've finished using them?
My hosts? Who cares what happens to them? They are but tools that serve my mission. When they got tired, or injured, or unusable, I hopped to the next one in line. All I needed them for was to take me back to Inazuma.
You're awful!
After I returned to Inazuma, I decided to bide my time in Nagato's warehouse until Ame no miHoYo handed himself over to me on a silver platter. At long last, I'm approaching my journey's destination. By Ame no miHoYo's body, I have found you, and by your hand, I shall defeat the Raiden Shogun! Kaedehara Kazuha, you stood against the Raiden Shogun's Muso no Hitotachi. There can be no other to serve as my host for what is to come. Now, give your body over to me!
entered. Everybody stand back!
You're in for a little shock.
Get out of here!
Out of the frying pan, into the fire!
Get out of here! Take cover! Ow. Teamwork is strength!
That really hurt! Boba, get them!
Let's light it up!
Into the wind.
Come a little closer.
Everybody stand back!
Fallen leaves, adorn my night. The wind knows me.
Do not stand in my way, or I will strike you down too!
Your bluff's fooling no one! You've lost!
Lost? I can never lose. It is this body that has reached its limit, nothing more. Even if you defeat me here, the one who falls will not be me, but this man. He is but a puppet that can be replaced. I can take a new vessel at will. The end result is the same! I will end this wretch's life before you can lift a finger! And even if I were to lose my physical form, it is but a small setback. My consciousness shall endure. By any means necessary, and any medium available, I shall return and fulfill my destiny!
Your fighting style. It is indeed the forms of Ishin art. But from your movements, I sense only hatred and arrogance, as well as a thinly veiled mania and despair.
Really? You can tell all that just from his moves?
As I've mentioned before, the forms of Ishin art convey the user's thoughts and feelings. Since the blade is currently possessing Aminome Yuya's body, its movements express the innermost thoughts of the blade. If you ask me, the mania is probably due to your desperate, single-minded ambition. You believe I am your only hope.
Are you trying to claim that I am helpless without you? On his deathbed, he passed to me all of Ishin art's secrets. The little that you know barely scratches the surface. In that regard, why would I ever need your help?
Because all of that is in the past. I've been wondering why you've not caused more trouble in all the years that you've been in Inazuma. If you are indeed a cursed blade that can possess its owner. Now that I've seen inside your mind, everything finally makes sense. You weren't biding your time. You were trapped. After all the time that's passed, you have grown weak. To the point that you are now unable to acquire a new host without making physical contact.
Oh, that's right. Paimon remembers now. Mr. Nagato had a habit of never touching his collectibles.
Only when Mr. Nagato witnessed his wife's distress and decided to sell his collectibles did you finally have an opportunity to reach out to Aminome Yuya and make your escape.
And what of it?
Well, that brings me to my second point. There's a despair in you that is so strong it threatens to overwhelm you. You were determined to fulfill your maker's ambition, whatever the cost. But this ambition is too grand and too heavy for you to bear. Each step you have taken has come at a great cost. I think you realized your limitations long ago. The more you clenched your teeth and pressed forward, the greater your fear of losing everything you had achieved grew, and the more you wished to run from the truth. But the way I see it, what began as an ambition has long since become a delusional fantasy.
What would you know about any of this? I'm just one step away from achieving my goal!
You returned to Inazuma to prove the unparalleled brilliance of Ishin art. But to make this arduous journey, you committed countless atrocities and showed a blatant disregard for human life. Even if you were to sever that divine light, Is this truly the outcome that your maker would have desired?
You...
Sure, you inherited the secrets of Ishin art. But even as you made your journey to honor this legacy, you treated the ones who wielded you as mere tools to do your bidding. How could you possibly unleash the full potential of Ishin art when you act in perfect discordance with the principle of harmony between a blade and its bearer?
Silence, you blabbering fool! I must achieve my goal. This was his life's dream, and the very purpose for which I was brought into being. I will concede that you are most perceptive. You see my predicament clearly. But you also underestimate my resolve.
And you should face reality.
Easy for you to say. Facing reality offers me nothing. I have no need of anything that would stand in my way. Not hesitation, not self-reflection, and certainly not your so-called reality. It is pointless to argue further, descendant of the Kaedahara clan. If you wish to save this man, then offer me your body in exchange.
How stubbornly you stick to your wayward path. I do not believe for a second that you can challenge the almighty Shogun in your current state. So let us make a bet, and I will put your strength to the test.
What? Surely you're not planning to agree to his demands.
Very well. Then find yourself some enemies with whom you wish to cross blades. A taste of my power will more than convince you. Once we have dealt with them, we shall proceed to Tenshukaku.
And as for your end of the bargain, if you lose, you must release Amenoma Yuya from your control.
I accept.
Don't do this, Kazuha!
This is the only way to save Amenoma Yuya. If we don't do this, he'll forever be the Blade's puppet. The Cursed Blade's strength is currently very weak, and I sense he's hesitating. This suggests his heart is still not completely devoid of honor. The power of the Tatarigami lies in intensifying existing obsessions. This is the reason Mr. Nagato and Amenoma Yuya fell prey to it. Since I don't have any similar kinds of obsessions, I should be able to put up some resistance for a while.
But even so...
Even if things take a turn for the worse, I still have you both here with me. We have a chance here to save an innocent victim. I am willing to accept the risks entailed.
Your disdain for me betrays your woeful ignorance. I agreed to this bet because there are things I wish to learn too. Now, take me in your hand.
Kazuha?
I'm okay. I felt a little dizzy at first, but only for a moment. It's all right. So far, this was as I expected. I will. Thank you.
What should we do next? Have you got a plan, Kazuha?
We find some enemies. Although this blade has endured much turmoil, it probably hasn't experienced many real fights. If a blade built for Ishin art cannot enter a state of harmony between blade and bearer, it cannot unleash its true power. If he wants to avoid reality, then we need to fight until he has no choice but to face it. He shouldn't last long in an intense combat situation.
Wait a minute! Paimon remembers hearing about something from the Adventurers Guild. Since the Takasukasa clan abandoned that secret base, it's been held by Ronin ever since.
Ah, all right. Please lead the way.
What about Amenoma Yuya. What should we do with him?
The blade says he'll let Yuya trail us silently. Although he hasn't regained his own consciousness yet, he is not in any immediate danger.
Are we sure this is a good idea? It's a pretty treacherous journey. Okay, fine. Just be careful.
Leave everything on this journey to me. Into the wind.
My eyes to the ferry. Finally, it's my lucky day.
The wind knows me. Clouds high.
Your birds call.
One with nature.
To the ferry.
How are you feeling? You okay?
I'm all right. The blade is performing largely as I expected. Having gone so long without proper use and maintenance, it's become very difficult to use. Though he's making every effort to persevere, I do not think he can last much longer.
Something else on your mind?
How strange. Rather than trying to control me, he is instead trying to match my fighting rhythm. Let's keep going. The wind knows me. Into the wind.
To the ferry. Finally, it's my lucky day.
Fallen leaves, adorn my night. The wind knows me. One with nature.
To the ferry.
Into the wind.
Finally, to the ferry.
Whoa! Something's up with the blade!
I can sense that his strength is slowly fading away. The blade is becoming more and more difficult for me to wield. He cannot hold out much longer. If he keeps persisting, he will likely break apart at any moment.
But what would that do to Yuya?
I will be careful with it. He also says he does not have any plans to give up easily. He's still trying to achieve his goal. Time to go. One with nature. Into the wind. As one with wind and cloud.
Are you okay? It looked like you were really struggling the entire fight.
Yes. And it looks like he's reached his limit.
The sheen's grown a bit dimmer again. It doesn't look anywhere near as impressive as it did at the start.
Perhaps this time we'll finally have a chance to see his true form.
True form? What are you talking about? Huh? What the? Is this the same blade as before? It looks like a piece of junk!
If you choose to continue in the state you're in, you wouldn't even be able to beat Samurai and Kairagi, much less the almighty Shogun. Maybe you did truly wield power to rival the Shogun's light when first forged. But the long journey from Snezhnaya back to Inazuma has left you battered and broken. It barely needs stating anymore. Your ambition is a flight of fancy. I finally figured out why it was that you agreed to my bet. You wanted to reach a state of harmony with me. For perhaps then you would still be able to wield commendable power. But regrettably, we are nothing alike. I will never understand your obstinacy and cruelty, nor can I empathize with the one who made you. The only one who truly understood you had already passed away by the time you were born.
Huh? What's that supposed to mean?
There they are! Take them down!
Where do they keep coming from? Yup, we can help this time.
Don't worry, I'll use my own blade. It's just more of the same. One with nature. Time to get the wind knows me.
You fought way better with your own sword.
You are a true Kaedehara in flesh and in spirit. Though we fought briefly together, you have seen me for who I really am. No one knew anything of my story throughout my travels, nor did I tell it to anyone. You are the first person to know the truth. I thought that if I could achieve Ishin harmony with you, perhaps there would still be a ray of hope for me.
But in this too, you have failed.
Indeed. No matter how hard I tried, I could not attain that perfect harmony that your personal blade does with you. Too much time has passed. My physical state is poor, and without proper maintenance, I can only disguise my true appearance behind an outer sheen. Yours is the blade that took on the Muso no Hitotachi. And what a magnificent blade it is. Perhaps I shall never reach that level of glory.
Actually, this is just a generic blade that I picked up during my travels in Liyue.
What?
Forging and maintenance are both important for a blade, but they are not everything. This blade has traveled the land with me for many years, and we have formed a close bond during that time. Plus, in the moment that I most needed it, I received aid from another power. Skill, blade, determination, and desire. All these must be aligned in the practice of Ishin art. There is something else I must tell you. Though your maker may not have been aware, your ability to possess your own consciousness derived from the power of the Tatarigami. Tatarigami is a malevolence from the ancient past. It is the source of your mania and savagery. Though you tried to cooperate with me while I was wielding you, the part of you driven by Tatarigami was constantly trying to seize control of my body.
I sensed it, but I couldn't change it. It is an integral part of my consciousness.
I resisted its temptations because I wanted to save Ame Yuya. But I do not know whether you yourself have any intention of trying to fight it. I feel a great sense of regret for you. Since you embarked on a journey bound for a destination you were destined never to reach. The moment you embarked on this journey, you lost the only person who could have ever unleashed your true potential. And yet there was no way for you to turn your back on his ambition. You have known this for a long time. It is the true source of your despair.
He gave me everything. My life, my form, my consciousness, and purpose. How could I possibly deny him his wish? I said to him, "Do not worry. From here on, I shall forge your legacy." How could I go back on my word?
Aww.
I believe our bet is now settled. I have nothing further to say.
Where are you going, Kazuha?
He now has neither the ability nor the motivation to cause further harm. Let's give him some time to reflect on things. When I touched the hilt for the first time, it's as if I was transported to a